Smyrna Church. This building is the oldest documented standing church house in Arkansas. We know this because researchers from the University of Arkansas at Fayetteville performed an annual ring study on a stump found underneath the church as it was lifted for repair. When raised, you could see the exposed support logs with the axe marks. They date from 1856 to 1857. The pioneers used trees from the area, and one of the tested trees was 242 years old when cut. The trees used started growing between 1614 and 1638. Square nails were used in the building. When the church was built, Arkansas was 20 years old. This structure was placed on the historic register in 1992. The style is vernacular Greek revival. Smyrna is a little community purposefully located at the halfway mark between the towns of Joy and Searcy on Highway 36 in western White County. Similar to some modern congregations, this worship place was formed from a disagreement. Before Smyrna, several different faiths were worshiping in the Searcy Valley area at a building on different Sundays. When that no longer worked, the Methodists built their own building. Smyrna was once at the crossroads of two well-traveled wagon trails. When someone died, the church bell would ring the person's age, so community members would have an idea of who had passed. In the olden days, ministers were called circuit riders, and they would make their way around by horse to little country churches. During the War of Northern Aggression, or the War between the states, most commonly referred as the Civil War, Minister Jacob Armstrong's son was a soldier. He was very fearful that his son would not survive the troubles of battle like so many others. But as the dad was preaching, he looked up from his pulpit and noticed his son walking up the path to the door. That must have been a very joyful situation. Smyrna is a simply but sturdily built church. It's basically a white wooden rectangle with 9/9 windows, belfry, and some decorative custom hand-cut flower patterns and metal shamrocks. Its look has changed some over the years, but nothing drastic. The neat thing about the windows is that the large glass panes couldn't be carried by horse and buggy very easily, so the windows used 9 small glass panes put into one frame rather than one glass piece. These are seen in antebellum churches. The building happened without the now modern conveniences of child care facilities, Sunday school rooms, plumbing, fellowship halls, gyms, heating and cooling units, electricity, bride's room, and all the other stuff. It was what it was. Children likely sat next to their parents, and it wasn't uncommon for the new moms to feed their babies in mixed company. Because really, who wants to hear a really hungry baby scream? The woman wore her hair up with pinned hats when the men removed their hats. The men would wear a jacket and suspenders with their trousers. The ladies would wear their best dress. That might or might not have been a nice dress. Pioneer life was hard and physically demanding. Folks didn't have a lot of clothing. It took a lot of work just to have enough food and shelter. My great-grandparents, the Wyatts, attended this church in the 1940s and 1950s. My grandfather can still remember going there when he was a little boy. As time passed, fewer and fewer people attended the church. It fell into the hands of the overall Methodist Church, and the building was in need of serious repair after being rented to the independent congregations for decades. The Methodist Church donated the building to the city of Searcy with the understanding it would be restored. Behind the church is an old yet current large cemetery. The first recorded burial is in 1858. Someone buried there was born in 1797. To the right of the main cemetery, over 100 graves were found of what is thought to be the cemetery of people of color. This section is not active, but has been cleaned very many times in recent years and needs to be cleaned again. The Smyrna area was showcased in December 2009 when the historic Arkansas Preservation Program held a tour of the church and grounds. In 2002, members of the White County Historical Society rallied to save the structure. It would turn out to be a decade-long project. This event would be a joint venture between the White County Historical Society, the Searcy Arts Council, the City of Searcy, spanning the leadership of 3 mayors. Funding would be provided by private donations and matching grants from the Arkansas Historic Preservation Program. Oh, and tons of volunteer hours by firemen, Historical Society members, and anyone able. The Smyrna Church was showcased in 2009 when the Historic Arkansas Preservation Program held a tour of the church and grounds. If you would like to learn more about the Smyrna Church, you may contact the White County Historical Society at www.whitecounty.us or Facebook. Smyrna is mentioned numerous times in the White County Historical Society newsletter and in their additional 100-page publication, The White County Heritage. The White County Historical Society was formed 50 years ago in 1961. Recently, the church has been available for rental, primarily for weddings, even though the interior lacks luster. Since the church is owned by the City of Searcy, reservations can be made through the Searcy Parks and Recreation Department at the Community Center at 501-279-1010. Restoration of the interior continues. Thank you. My name is Wyatt Keach, and I live in North Little Rock, Arkansas.